Today is December 1st, 2020. I'm with Joshua Bradshaw. How are you doing today, Josh?
I'm doing good, man. How are you?
I'm doing good. Uh, like we were saying last time we did this was before COVID, so you didn't have Zoom and the camera
Yeah,
angle wasn't so great.
yeah. Now things have changed a little bit.
Things have changed a little bit.
Yeah.
How have things changed for you?
Well, I mean, since last time I got a new job, um, I mean, and I got that new job right when COVID started. So it's like I don't even know how this job would be in normal times.
How was it
Yeah.
in COVID times?
Well, I mean, during COVID, so I work like as a worker now, right? So you're doing like social work and stuff like that. And I mean, preferably they would want you to work face to face with people. I mean, but I mean, they still were doing that, like, but now it's kind of like the pressure's on my job to like do more remote work and do like over the phone stuff. Yeah. So
Do you go to the office still?
yeah, I go to the office. They say like if it's essential, like oh go out into the community. But if not, like try and do it over the phone. But there's some times where like especially when you're working with people like just coming off like probation and stuff like that, they don't have access to like computers or phones, so you have to meet them in person, which
So,
is kind of scary a little bit.
what's scary about it?
Just being like exposed in the community, um, and being out there. I mean, for me, like I've personally had to get tested twice for like during this last like 8 months, like while working this job, due to like being like exposed.
Wow. What
Yeah.
type of social work do you do?
So it's like it varies. Like it could be like, you know, filing for like food stamps and Medicaid, updating benefits, dropping transportation, dropping off, picking up, assistance giving with therapy, setting up like people with
Dropping off?
resources. Yeah, you can drop off people like to get go somewhere or picking up. Um, Sometimes like if they get medication, help them get that. Or I've helped people shop. Like it's kind of like it varies. Honestly, it's like it's kind of funny though. Like seeing like this guy like acts like he's like showing me off, like I'm helping him at Walmart or something. He'll be like, I feel like, oh, look up my caseworker helping me shop when other people just shop. Like
I got one of these. I got this
yeah,
caseworker here. You don't got that.
yeah, he's carrying my second cart.
That is pretty funny.
Yeah.
How many clients do you have on a
I
normal
have like
basis?
30 now.
Wow, that's a lot of work.
Yeah, and then they were originally being it lowered, but because of finances, like or the economics of the hospital. I work for a hospital, so it's just like they they do it based on like billing. You bill like Medicaid and Medicare for like services. Um, so of course, like when you're in person, you're around these people longer, so you can like bill longer. But like when you're over the phone, like who likes being on the phone for that long? So they're not making as much money from billing um as they used to. Like I think that's also like a lot of like even hospitals are losing a lot of money during this like COVID time, like with their other resources that are being utilized for COVID.
What are those other resources?
So I mean like things such as like my job, like case management. When it first started, like that, because I mean in person contact was lowered, and then even like emergency rooms too. I'm not gonna say like it's ethical. I really don't like it's definitely not ethical, but um one of the things was, that you would make money from the hospital, make money from people going into emergency rooms. But with COVID, people didn't come as much. So they cut hours, ration like hours and stuff like that.
Do you work closely with hospitals?
Well, I work for a hospital, but it's just outpatient. And he's
What
like a clinic that's like outside of the hospital, but it's like run by UNMH.
what hospital do you work for?
The University of New Mexico Hospital.
Okay.
Yeah,
Eh,
so it's like a university hospital, so it's like pretty entangled in almost everything.
what do you mean by everything?
Like it does case management. It goes to it's attached to like housing programs that do with case management. Um, like my job deals with probation, so like those that are on like court probation, federal, state, um, pretrial services. So I would do case management for those people. Um, you have this is just like community based services that deal with like, so it could be like mine's probation. So others deal with like housing. Um, others deal with like intense like medication management and stuff like that. So
So you're a case manager for the hospital that handles different case types like probationary clients.
yeah, I'm a caseworker for basically for those that are on probation that need like resources, like, and they're referred. So it's like if they need like food stamps or applying for housing programs and things like that. Kind of vary.
How does that relate to UNMH?
So UNMH is a hospital, is like the university hospital here, right? And unlike a lot of private hospitals, like there's certain like this is like a public entity. I don't really know how to describe it. They can't reject anyone. Like, right? Like there's certain hospitals like, so this, if someone just goes in, don't have insurance, is tax paid, right? And they can't reject anyone. But the hospital just pretty much is pretty spread out. Like this is one of the things. What else does they do? Like they even have like inpatient like psych, which would like for kids or adults. They're just, it's like kind of a huge entity of things that kind of taps, it's like it taps into like everything, like especially like even like judicial mm, like criminal background, like that, anything that you kind of relate to health, put education in there, it kind of taps it's into everything. So
Wow. And you, as a hospital case manager, have to assist in these people's livelihood.
yeah, yeah, kind of it kind of seems like more, since with COVID going on, it seems like, you partner up with like the probation officers that monitor them, and then also like while you help them get services, um especially, and now there's a lot of like probation officers are not even able to be in contact with clients, so it's like there's sometimes some cases where if I've seen the clients more than their own POs.
Wow. Is every one of your clients on probation?
uh yeah, predominantly, yeah.
Wow. And how how is that? How is having a client base that's mostly probationary citizens?
Well, honestly, it's a big awakening, a wake up call, like to be exposed to other people's life. I can say like for example, like we grew up in Orange County, California, man, like Southern Orange County, California, which is something I do not like repping.
You don't like rep in Southern California? So I mean Southern County.
No,
What's the reason for that?
because most people, when they see, most people see it as, oh, as someone stuck up, someone that is in a social bubble, not really exposed to anything, and they kind of look down at other people, um, without without really experiencing what other people go through, right? Like I feel like Orange County, like we're really judgmental,
Yes, can
but
be for Southern California.
yeah. But going back to like the idea of like being working with people off probation, like you can call it. I mean, I've been exposed to people with, like that actually have real problems, like
What types of
not like the
problems?
first like world problems that we're used to, right? Like, oh, our internet's not working. They don't have internet. Like that's one thing. Like, it's like I think that's like one of the most important utilities there is right now, to have access to anything, right? But most of these people don't even have internet, like, right? But besides that, it's like some of them are just figuring out how to get their next meal. Um, some, like can't find work. Um, which is a big problem right now, right? Like, you know, um, that I mean, they don't have like certain rights, like such as voting. Like it was a like election year this year, they can't vote. Yeah, everyone's talking about all this politics and Trump and all this stuff, and they can't even vote. Um,
None of them?
no, when you're on probation, you can't vote.
Wow.
Yeah,
That is, I didn't know that.
yeah. So,
Is that the same if you're in jail? You can't vote in from
yeah,
jail?
yeah. I mean, there's a lot of stuff that's kind of like you learn about things, right? Like one of the things is like I learned about what criteria homeless is, right? If you're living in a motel, you're not considered homeless. If you're in a jail, you're not considered homeless. Which I was
Wow.
like, what? That's ridiculous, because that right there keeps them from getting benefits for saying that you're homeless.
So if they're renting out hotel rooms, then they can't get benefits for being homeless.
Yeah.
Wow. And are most of your clients homeless?
I've had a few, not all of them. Um, yeah, I've had a few, and that was kind of, and then that's iffy because like I don't know if you notice, but America is very stingy with giving out money to people.
Yes, it
Like,
is.
I mean, even getting the 1200, which I didn't even get.
You didn't get 1200?
Yeah, I didn't get the 1200 because they said there was a stipulation on my taxes in 2018 that I said that I can be claimed as a dependent. And I was like, I don't even know. And no one claimed me. Yet they told me to do an amended tax return. I did that, and I haven't heard anything back from them.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I mean, and then like they made it very hard for, like, I tried registering people, like, for this stimulus check, like as for my job, and it was hard for them. Like some of them, like it wouldn't let that non-filer tool thing was like a joke.
What non-filer tool thing?
So there's like a basically, like, how like if you got paid your taxes the last 2 years, they would just automatically either mail or deposit the check into your account.
Yes.
Um, so if you didn't pay, a lot of my clients were either in jail or, or homeless or something like that. So they didn't pay their taxes. So they have this non-filer tool you would do online, and it only worked for me like for maybe like two, like three of the clients. Like they'd be like, "Oh, this address doesn't match," or this doesn't match with their information and all that stuff. So it's like they made that very hard too.
Was this a
Yet they
government
send this
website?
check to dead people, right? Like,
Wow.
Yeah, it's very inefficient. This stimulus check thing was.
Was that a government website that you had to
Well,
use?
they well, you go to the IRS website and then they go to a third, like a contractor, pretty much. Yeah, to
Got
do
it.
it. Basically, it's almost like a really easy TurboTax, right? Basic income if you made any, if you didn't, and just put in your information, and then you should be done.
Okay. But
Yeah,
it's not that simple.
yeah. It shows it as simple, but then like there was many times where say like they told me to that I didn't put in the right information when I know I did. When I like triple, quadruple checked, and like it would still say it wasn't right. So then it said, "Oh, mail it in," and mail it in. Who knows, man? It's gonna just get lost in that iOS web, man.
Yeah, I mean, if you can't do it online, it's tough to get that done
Yeah. So
in snail mail.
true.
So, yeah, like you said, this country is stingy on giving out money.
Yeah.
If what would you like to see more money being allocated towards?
Well, I mean, I was a so the stimulus check, right? I like my opinion of it is I thought it actually was really good. Like it's a good idea, but one, it doesn't work if you only do it one time in in 8 months, you know?
Yes. Did they do it
Like it don't
once? Yeah, they did.
huh? Right? Since March, right? So
I believe so.
almost 9 months now.
Was it March, April? I think it was April.
Oh yeah, it was distributed in April, yeah. So, you know, so that was one thing, but also like the idea that it was basically a way to just stimulate the economy, right? It was not really a way like for people to actually have like, genuine money to have, right? Like I went to like and how I found that out was I went to a car dealership to get my oil changed, right? And I started talking to a dealer, like a sales rep there, and I was like, "Oh man, it must be kind of rough times, during COVID." He's like, "What? Are you kidding me?" He's like, "Dude, there's so many people buying all these cars with their unemployment, with these stimulus checks, man." He's like, I was like, "Serious?" I was like, "I'm in Albuquerque. This is one of the poorest cities in the country." I was like, "What are all these people buying cars for?"
Really?
Yeah, it was almost like like the Dave Chappelle skit, man. You know, like when the black people get reparations.
Wow. No, I don't know.
Oh
What is
well,
that?
it's this skit. Which, by the way, I'm not watching. I'm gonna say this for the record. Do not watch Chappelle show on Netflix or HBO. He
What's the
doesn't.
reason?
They're not paying him.
They're not paying him.
Yeah,
Then how can they put on on his shows?
because Viacom, which runs Comedy Central, just said that they can put him on, stream it, but they're not paying him because Viacom and CBS, they're not paying him for any royalties for the Chappelle show.
Wow. Oh, and are these the shows that he recorded
Yeah.
back in the 2000s?
Yeah. This is the show on Comedy Central. Yeah.
Okay, but it's not the new skits that he's coming out
Yeah. The
with.
new stand ups are actually on Netflix. He got paid for that already just for him doing that. But one cool thing about he said that Netflix did is when he told Netflix that he was kind of upset that they were streaming the show that he didn't get paid for, Netflix took it off the platform. So
Wow. So it's
yeah,
not on Netflix anymore?
no,
I didn't know that.
yeah.
That
So it
was it
was,
that was recently, wasn't it?
yeah, it was like maybe a week or two ago.
Wow. I didn't know they took it off.
Yeah, so I thought that was actually really, and then he had a whole stand up special about it on his Instagram.
Is this Instagram good?
Yeah. Well, I mean, yeah, it's like, I mean, it's not too much stuff, but I mean, it had I was watching. It was on a story, and it was like a 19 like minutes thing where he just like basically just talked about. It was really well put together. Basically talked about like how moments that he kind of got screwed basically like helped them like progress like in like the lessons he learned, and then he eventually went to, eventually talked about how Comedy Central screwed him, and then basically like, and then the media shamed him, like I don't know if you remember when he left that show.
In the 2000s to do work in
Yeah, do you
Africa.
remember like all the stories surrounding that he like, he left 50 million on the table and went to Africa and stuff like that.
I didn't hear too many about the tabloid stories. What were they saying?
Yeah, they were saying basically he was crazy, like for leaving. He's like, oh, he left 50 million on the table and all that stuff, and he went to Africa, because I don't know if like Dave Chappelle he was Muslim.
I didn't know he was Muslim
Yeah,
or
so
is Muslim.
yeah, so he ended up going to Africa, and I guess it was like a tribe. I'm not really sure what tribe, but I think it says something. I don't know. I don't know if it's his ancestry or not, but he ended up going to tribe and then kind of laying low for a while.
Very
You know,
low. And he
yeah,
got
which I
came
think was good, man. Like it's like like he mentioned in this recent he mentioned in this recent stand up when he's talking about, Viacom and CBS and stuff. He's just talking about like, I don't know if it's a culture or Hollywood in general. Like he said, he calls it a monster, right? Basically, he's like, what did he say? He said something because he mentioned the Me Too root, right? Like he's like, it's the same monster we're fighting against, right? He's like, I'm fighting against the monster who's trying to eat, and the women are trying to, are fighting the monster that's trying to fuck. But it was pretty interesting. Pretty much, it's like I kind of like it's. He can say Hollywood. I kind of almost think it's capitalism, personally. Um, I think capitalism's at a really like last ditch effort right now
what
to,
makes continue?
well, like, to me it's like this pandemic is showing how all the shortcomings like a neoliberal capitalistic system, is really showing all the shortcomings, how it's not taking care of like the citizens and stuff like that. And a lot of people are losing jobs. There's no social programs that are strong enough to really sustain anyone right now, which, the last like 20, 30 years have kind of shrunk the public sector. So
What do you think is a way forward?
a way forward. So, all right, I'm not gonna say I'm a complete Marxist, right? Because I actually been reading the Communist Manifesto right now, and I
Wow.
really thoroughly enjoy it.
By Karl,
But
is that by Karl Marx?
yeah,
What
um, but one of the things I would say that I do like how Marxist has an intellectual structure that you can kind of put other theories in, right? Like the way it's like kind of structured as in its class struggle. That's like the biggest thing, right? That you're really seeing that through this whole wealth gap, the even in the Black Lives Matter movement and those kind of things, that although like the forefront will be race and sex and all that stuff, but it really comes down to class.
what do you
Um,
mean by class?
Meaning like it is, you have these elites like such as Bezos, Zuckerberg, all the, you know how much money they're making during this
Billions?
pandemic?
A lot.
They're making billions right now. Like, just being able to sell things like Pharma's making a lot. Um, Medical like providers are making a lot.
Yes.
Um, Insurances are making a lot, right?
Yes.
But then you're seeing like you get this argument, well, Trump's doing really well, our economy, the GDP and stocks are going up. I'm like, yeah, but there's a lot of people that lost their jobs. There's a lot of people that are can barely pay rent. Like,
What
like, that's
what
not
no,
a good
continue.
evaluation of how like real life economy is going.
How is the real life economy in Albuquerque?
Well, I mean, my point of view, it's like I don't it's a little different here because it's like you have because it's already pretty like Albuquerque is pretty poor in general, but it's like and there's not that many resources, but it's just not really like I wouldn't say it's as efficient as it could be. Again, like I see homeless not a lot. It's like kind of in the traffic of like drug traffic, a lot of meth, um, opioids, and those such things. So, I think it's a place that on it, like kind of like almost like Oregon would really kind of benefit from decriminalizing drugs.
You
Like,
believe that New Mexico would benefit from decriminalizing drugs?
yeah, because there's a lot of people that are in the jail system are from drug use, like not even that. So it's like really decriminalizing drugs, investing more in substance, like rehab rather than investing in like the criminal system. So,
Are any of your clients or have they been over this year addicted to drugs?
well, yeah, a lot of them are deal with that. We have a lot of, unfortunately, there's a lot of the, well, it's not really unfortunate. I mean, if you're like methadone and Suboxone, right?
What is methadone and Suboxone?
So methadone would usually be like for opioid um like use. It's supposed to be like a response, so it kind of stabilizes you after using opioids. So heroin, the pills, right? Again, but then again, I guess going back to that, like everyone thinks when they talk about opioids and about heroin, biggest part pills, man. Like pills are definitely a lot more scarier than heroin, I would say.
Is there an opioid issue in Albuquerque or New Mexico?
Yeah, in New Mexico,
How
yeah,
does
man.
that manifest itself in day to day life?
Well, I would say like for me, it's just like because you have a lot of it's unfortunately it's a big business, right? Out here, you have the opioid addictions, right? But also, what gets a lot of money is these clinics that do methadone and Suboxone, right? And that's pharma and that's medical healthcare providers too. That basically, although they're in the form of, is it really recovering or is it kind of numbing? Like, because it's not like you're going to kick the addiction. Ashley, like, isn't like, for example, isn't like medical cannabis like proven to kind of help with opioid addiction to wean off opioid addiction,
I'm not
right?
sure. Is it?
I don't know. I thought I heard that. I'm not really sure if that's true or not, but like methadone and Suboxone kind of just numb it, it numbs the craving for it.
Really? And then, but
Yeah.
they're prescribed as.
Yeah, it's prescribed.
That's pretty crazy how we have prescription drugs to get people off. of an addiction from other prescription drugs that were given
Yeah.
to them.
Yeah, pretty much, right? Like I think I was watching a Rogan podcast and he was talking to an author about like basically like the evolution of the war on drugs and things like that. And he mentioned, I guess, in Switzerland that so they legalize like heroin, right? And they have injection sites where they can get clean needles, which is also like, another part of the epidemic. Like using dirty needles spreads like STIs, right? Um, so I mean, they kind of like there's two whammies, right? You get make sure you get it's pure, right? It's not like cut heroin with stuff. And they're medical professionals that are at these sites with clean needles. And then there they also have counseling and all that stuff. So it's like, and they'll limit your dose. So it's like they'll wean you off it eventually, right? Not just, substitute with something else.
And the guest on Joe Rogan said that this was helpful in Switzerland.
Oh
That
yeah, he said that is really helpful. Um,
was this a recent episode?
I think it's a few years old. Yeah, but you can just look it up. Like you just say Joe Rogan, like war on drugs, and it's pretty cool how he talks about how the war on drugs evolved here in America and stuff like that, which is a very interesting because it's not like everyone thinks about like the war on drugs in 1980s, but it really started back like in Prohibition, which is like really cool how
In
that
the
like
20s
yeah
and
the
10s?
20s and 30s.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that's what do you know a basic summary of that? Like the
Well, basically, so the guy mentioned how there was basically you have like the Drug Enforcement Agency, I believe. I don't know if it was called that, but they managed the prohibition, right? In the 20s, right? It was very ironic because I mean that's like the booming 20s where everyone partied and stuff
drank.
like that when alcohol was illegal. But back in so then fast forward to the 1930s when prohibition was ending, he wanted to keep his department open, right? And without alcohol being illegal anymore, he was like, what how am I going to keep my department open? And yet then that's when he kind of started racializing um drug use, connecting it to race. Like notice, like I don't know if it's a pattern, if you notice that race is the biggest hot button. Like I don't think it's at like I think it's like I say class, like class to me is like the biggest thing, but race is like the biggest trigger, right? If that like to cause like a change of like viewpoints or opinions, right? So in 1930s he racialized like drug use, associated, cocaine and crack to black people and heroin use to black people, right? And then weed to Mexicans, right?
Really? He
Yeah.
classified them by
Kind of
race?
like basically like they would associate those drugs with those kind of people that are seen as outsiders. So then it's like, let's criminalize that, that's illegal. Yet, like, it's shown that drug use is pretty even throughout any race and class. Um,
But that was that made official in like legislation?
well, I wouldn't say that it's official because I mean, rate like when it comes to race, a lot of it is pseudo um, politics, right? Or pseudo policy. It's not, or de facto, right? De facto, meaning it's not explicitly said, right? But it's gonna be there entrenched, right? Like, I guess a good example would say, like, do you know how it says like there's like such thing as political equality and social equality, right?
Okay.
Right? Like, and so going back in time, I guess even more, you can say like this is um So you have Abraham Lincoln, right? Everyone talks about Abraham Lincoln. He freed the slaves and stuff like that. But one of like if you look back in what Abraham Lincoln said, he said that yes, me and a black woman should be treated equally under the law, right? So that's political equality, right? But then he's like, but we will never be looked as the same as me being a white man, here being a black woman. That's a social like distinction, right? Even if even if you say in the law like thou shalt not discriminate, all that stuff, that doesn't break down into what you socially think,
And
right?
yes. And do you
So
believe
that's where the de facto ideas of like discrimination come in, right? And you can hide, and you don't have to be explicit, right? Even like if you're doing a job, oh, I'm not, you can't say I'm not hiring because he's black, but I'm hiring because he wasn't the best person for the job, right? You don't explicitly have to say, I'm hiring because he's black. You can say that, and that's what you call a dog whistle.
a dog whistle?
Hmm.
Where did you coin that term?
Oh, I learned it in school,
What?
right?
Oh, wow. And
Yeah, because I did I majored in political science, but I minored in African American studies. So I took like many classes on race and the racial issues in America as well. Mainly catered, towards black people, but others as well. Kind of stems from that.
how was that experience?
Really eye opening, um, especially because it wasn't until I got to school that I knew that being black was so political. I didn't know race was so political.
Wow.
And that was probably the privilege to me of being in Orange County, where you could you don't really have like, is it Orange County or just how my parents were raised or like raised me, like then, I mean, we knew we were black and stuff, like, of course, read like Martin Luther King, Malcolm X, that kind of stuff, but I didn't know it was really political until maybe because like they back then young people weren't forced into politics, I guess, as they are now, right?
Yes.
Like now it's like, 6 6 year olds like you're black, you're a black person, you gotta deal with this stuff I didn't have to deal with that at 6,
No.
maybe till I was like 13, and
Maybe.
a little bit where I was more like I didn't really know the gist of it, but it was just like don't wear all black out and don't wear hoodies, to the store at night, especially like something like that, right? But he didn't really know the extent of it, like into other forms of it. So it was just you don't want to look like a gangster, pretty much, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
I understand. How was it eye opening?
Eye opening was more of the in depth history. Um, Pretty much it kind of introduced you to thought, like critical thought of like black critical thought, right? So it's like for me it was I always saw myself as a token, like, and I still kind of do see myself as a token,
What do you mean by a token?
like the token black person, man, the
Oh,
one black person in the room, the token in South Park, man.
you're token Bradshaw for sure.
Yeah, right. Which it's kind of in a way where it's like one thing what like it's cool to kind of because one thing it's like I don't sometimes have you heard of the term like the monolith, right? Before.
No, what is that?
So a monolith is like, oh, we all think the same. All black people think the same. They kind of use that same argument in this election. Oh, and then try to go against, all black people vote for Democrats, but why are black people
Not
just
true.
voting for Democrats and all that stuff, right? We all think that, we all support it, and then they switch it over. Like, but why are they Democrat? The Democrats used to be the slave holding party, and now they switched over. But it's like that's one thing. Again, eye opening. You learn about why black people vote for mainly Democrats now than compared to when they used to vote Republican before the 1960s. So that's like a thing that you learn too, right?
What's that reason?
Well, basically so 1960s you had JFK. Little JFK was on it, was kind of, he was elected right after, well, would I say it was that, or was it kind of in the 50s? It's kind of, the shift was kind of in the 50s, right? You had, I don't know if you heard of Justice Earl Warren, right?
That I have not I have heard of them. UCSD has a college named after Earl Warren, but
Oh yeah, huh, I remember that because they also have Thurgood Marshall College too,
they
right?
have I was in Thurgood Marshall College. They do have Thurgood Marshall College as well.
Yeah, I love Thurgood Marshall's my hero, man.
He's your hero?
Yeah,
What
at least one of them. I like one of them. I really wanted to be a judge at one point.
because of
Still
him?
might. I mean, I'm only 28, so
You
or
still
27.
can. Definitely.
Yeah, so I mean, but Thurgood Marshall, and I think doesn't UCFC have like a Eleanor Roosevelt school as
Yes.
well?
We have an Eleanor Roosevelt, a John Muir, and a Revell. I don't know who Revell is.
Hmm. And then John Muir is like the environmentalist, right?
John
Kind of.
Muir's an environmentalist uh, who founded, had a lot to do with the founding of national parks in America.
Oh, okay, awesome, man. UCSD was actually, I think I've did I say that's our like I like honestly it was cool going to UCLA, but I wish I kind of stayed in San Diego. I like the city of San Diego that much better.
Then LA.
Yeah,
What's the reason you like it better?
I just feel well. One, it just feels like it's more calm. It kind of reminds me of like the laid backness of being in Orange County in a bigger city, like in a way.
Yes. I don't know what it's like in LA, but it seems not laid back.
Oh no, it's not. I feel it's not. No.
What was it like living in Westwood?
Westwood, it was interesting, right? It was cool being in the dorms. You have your parties and stuff like that, especially like in I guess I'd call it, is it the Hill or something like that? I don't know. Well, basically where all the apartments were. That kind of sucked. The renting was awful.
What was awful about it?
Rent, man, like it was a lot. Like they inflated those prices. Um, like so I roomed with two people, and it was 2,800 for a 2 bedroom 1 bath apartment.
Wow. That's very
Heater
expensive.
broke too. Heater broke as well. Heater and air conditioning broke. He probably just got a hold of us because like sometimes, like I don't know, maybe I was in that mood where I'm just happy that I got an apartment, but I didn't really complain about it. Where I should have like been like, yeah, you need to make sure your air conditioning and heater work, man. That ain't cool. And
Yeah.
you're paying us $2,800 a month, but
You could probably complain about that.
oh yeah, definitely. But the thing is so our apartment was $2,800 a month. Um, so it just so happened that I was in a class with people that rented out that same apartment the previous year.
And what
Um,
did they say about it?
and they paid 24.
Wow. 400?
Yeah, they moved they basically yeah, they raised it up $400 from that in the last year. And it was
That's a
still was a
lot of
piece of
money.
crap.
Say that again. And it was still crap?
And it still was like a piece of crap apartment.
Wow. Yeah. And you had to pay it because you needed that degree.
Yeah, definitely. Honestly, it's like but it was a cool experience, I guess learning about like, like growing up and paying rent and stuff, you know,
Yes. We were talking about Earl
with
Warren.
managing money. Because I mean, with financial aid, you get it all in a lump sum. So it's like if you don't budget, where you know every like when you have to pay rent and food and all that stuff, then you might end up short.
Were you able to budget effectively? How did your budgeting go?
It went well because I had a job the summer before I moved in, so I saved up from that a bit, and then I quit working during like before winter, like quarter at UCLA, and then I did a pretty good job at budgeting. Like I would go to Trader Joe's all the time, like that was my place.
Pretty
Um,
decent prices there.
yeah, it is, man. Like I swear, like I would get like a lot of things. I would get like 15, 20 things, pay like 50, 60 bucks. And then the most expensive thing I got was like a box of peanut butter cups.
How much were those?
Like 4.99.
Wow, that's not that expensive.
Yeah, but it's like out of like buying like chips and fruit and all that stuff. Like candy was the most expensive thing I've got from Trader Joe's.
That's yeah, that's interesting. And it's
Yeah.
definitely a single person's dream because
Yeah. I
they
mean,
have.
what do they say? Like basically, man, like Trader Joe's or like it's like a white woman's paradise, you know, like, oh, they can take
Do
you
they
over to
say that?
lunch at Trader Joe's. I
Wow.
love Trader Joe's, man. I
I
honestly, I
love
don't know
Trader
why,
Joe's
like,
too.
people, they call it bougie, you know, but I think it's pretty, I don't know.
Even if it is bougie, I'm okay to be bougie in a grocery store. That's
Yeah, I think I'm cool with that
and it's
sometimes.
not that expensive. It's not like Whole Foods.
No, that's what people don't understand. They just see it and they're like, oh my God, you shop there, man? I'm like, yeah.
It's there's some things in there that are on par with like Ralph's, and I don't know about I have a Food for Less here, but I don't know if I go there. But like sometimes I go to Ralph's and something there is more expensive than Trader Joe's. My only
Oh, yeah.
issue with Trader Joe's right now is that they're limiting the amount of people that can go in still.
Oh,
S-
everywhere pretty much, yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
how is it in California?
In
I know
California,
that
it's fine
here it's like 20 something percent of capacity.
for
So
everything.
for yeah, everything. I mean, well, I mean, dining's closed, of course. Gyms are closed. Movie theaters are closed. Um,
Dining's
but
closed,
yeah, dining's closed again
even
here.
outdoor dining.
I think they have outdoor, but yeah, they're doing. I think outdoor is open, but it's like cold now. So
Yes, it
like
is
right
cold.
now, it's like probably like 30 something or
Wow.
40, low 40s. It's
So
like
it's pretty much closed.
yeah, you can pick up, but curbside.
That's
But you
pretty
can go to
interesting.
yeah, you go
How?
to Costco. It's like oh, we have 75 or 70 people limit max. So lines are forming outside of Costco that are winding.
Wow. They're not doing that here at this Costco.
Yeah.
There's no lines here, but
Might get there, huh? Do you
it
think it's
might
gonna
get
get
there.
there?
I don't
Well,
know.
I heard LA County shut down
Did it?
again. Yeah.
I'd I don't know. It hasn't shut down completely here. There's still some gyms open, and as long as they don't close down the parks and beaches, which they did earlier in the year, which I felt was completely misguided.
Yeah. Yeah, because I mean you can really spread out at the beach.
You can spread out at the beach and you can spread out in a park in the open air really lowers the
Yeah.
chances of you know,
Hmm.
transmitting the virus and contracting it or
Yeah.
so it's we have there's pros some things that you can not risk and some things that when you look at the benefits of people maintaining daily outdoor exercise,
Yeah.
it's best for the city to just not shut everything down, I think.
True. Honestly, it's like I think like the problem was I think they relax too much during summer.
They did.
That's the problem, right? It's not like I think it would have if they hammered down, oh well, the numbers are going down and blah 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 and all that stuff. But if like that's the time when you're supposed to like get things to slow down, like when things are slowing down, not when they ramp back up again.
It's tough. It's tough. Like, for example,
Although it's, I mean, it's during the summer, of course you want to get out and stuff like that.
well, it's not just that. Like what you were saying earlier, a lot of people are unemployed, and a lot of people have jobs that deal with, dining and,
Oh yeah, that too. Yeah, there's a lot of people getting
oh no, Josh.
and the whole idea of this heroes when they're really at risk, like wait, hold on.
Say that again, because I didn't get any of that.
Yeah, I kind of scratched a little bit. But basically the whole essential worker thing, I feel like it's kind of like a form of like brainwashing to kind of like make people feel like they're very important when it's like they're really at risk. They're really putting their lives at risk, or especially if you're susceptible to this virus or and you don't know how your body's gonna because it's a very what I'm saying it's a very individual thing. Like there are some
Susceptibility
people
to the
that don't
virus.
have any symptoms at all. Yeah, like they'll test positive, but they're fine. And then you hear about other people getting pneumonia, getting like serious like lung damage and all that stuff. And other people just like, yeah, I had it and I didn't feel anything. So
Yes, and you think that being called an essential worker disguises how dangerous and how at risk someone
yeah,
is.
yeah, yeah. Especially, I mean, like I understand we're wearing masks and stuff like that, but I mean, like a cashier is exposed to how many people a day,
Like a lot,
right?
like
Like
hundreds.
a lot a day, right?
I've s-
So
well,
I don't really know what the numbers are, but I'm curious to see like store workers and the the positive cases they get from stores. I mean, we had a 2 week shutdown where it's like here in New Mexico where if there was 3 positive cases, they would close that place down. So they closed about 3 Walmarts here, 4 Albertsons, like stores. And when they do that, like I know someone that works for Albertsons, so and when they do that, they have to throw away all their perishable products
wow, that's a lot of wasted food and
on the
money.
days that they're closed. Yeah. So
That's kind of sad.
it is, yeah. It's not a good time for things right now.
No, it's not a good time for a lot of things, and I think the next year or 2 years are going to be rough.
Oh yeah, I think so too. I mean, honestly, we just got to get through this winter, man. At this point,
What makes you say that?
because I mean, you still have Christmas coming up, and because the way the virus works, what I hear is it's like you gotta basically, if you are symptomatic, you don't show symptoms until about 2 weeks, about a week or so after technically getting the virus. So you had like they said that people traveled during Thanksgiving. We're not gonna see people are not gonna show up symptomatic till like this weekend, and then after they feel like they're symptomatic, they're gonna get tested, and then you're gonna show the numbers increasing because you still have people traveling and stuff and meeting during Thanksgiving,
I'm
right?
pretty sure the 2 weeks after July 4th, the caseload skyrocketed. across the
Yeah.
country.
Hmm.
So
And then the next thing you know, like Christmas is coming, New Year's is
Christmas,
coming.
New Year's will be dangerous.
Well,
Feel
I
like
hope. I mean, I'm not going to be out there.
people will be. I don't think.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think I feel like Thanksgiving people were pretty safe because it was just
Yeah, I think for the most part, but the numbers are still record though right now.
wow. And do you think? I mean, there's going to be a vaccine in December, so or apparently there's going to be a vaccine in December. I haven't been
Yeah.
keeping up with that too much.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
Earlier,
on
continue.
oh, I was gonna say, well, based on that, like with that, now it's like a that's also intertwined with the problem with this whole corona thing. It's been politicized throughout the whole pandemic, especially here. I don't think in other places, like like
Here, you mean USA?
yeah, because like in Korea and stuff, like as soon as one person broke that quarantine, that place was quarantined, no questions asked. Like here, they're complaining about wearing a mask. Like that's not. I'm like honestly, like at this point, like I think I don't want to say it, but I mean, if there has to be a little bit of authoritarian to get this like thing under wraps, so certain individual rights to privacy or the right not to wear a mask, something should. I don't really think that should be argued, to be honest.
You think so? You think that structured authoritarian do this
Well,
or
I think
else?
there should at least been like a federal mandate to wear a mask, at least. Like,
Do you think so? I don't know if I don't. I agree with that.
man, I mean that's because I mean, be honest. Okay, I guess I'm being a little idealistic. That's with an effective government. If an effective government, I believe there should be some like controls for an effective body that's governing society on our behalf, right? But do I think our government's like that? No.
No. I think an issue with that is that the United States is large with a large population and surface area. There's a lot of, the country and people in the South and California and New York don't have very similar values all the
Oh,
time.
yeah. True, true.
And that kind of, because in California, for example, the governor has mandated masks, at the state level, I
Yeah,
believe, or
yeah,
strongly encouraged them.
yeah.
And on a local level, that's nearly impossible to enforce.
Oh, yeah. I'm not really saying. I think when I say that, I know I'm saying mandate, but again, it should be encouraged. Like,
Encouraged. It
yeah, if
wasn't
that makes
encouraged,
sense. I
very.
think that it should be at least federally encouraged.
It
And
was actually questioned, if anything.
yeah, I mean, come on, you had Mr. Orange freaking have that, the what was that, the Republican like conference, all those speeches with no mask, that Rose Party and stuff. Man, he literally had people die. Herman Cain died going to his rally, man.
Who's Herman Cain?
Remember that black guy that ran back in 2008, I think? The one black candidate in 2008 or 12
For the president?
for presidency.
No, I don't remember.
I think it was in 2012.
Republican?
Yeah, he was Republican. He was like a CEO of some pizza company or something like that.
Wow. And he died?
Mobtown Pizza. It was that place. Remember that pizza place in Town Center by the movie theater?
Yes.
He
Mobtown
was a
Pizza?
Yeah, he was the CEO of that chain,
Wow.
and then he ran for president. He did some speech where he quoted Mewtwo from the Pokemon movie. It was kind of funny.
What did he say? What is
I
it?
don't
What
know.
does
I
Mewtwo even
forgot.
say? I
I
guess
don't
me.
know. I forgot what he said, but I remember I was watching a clip and he I don't want to be okay, I don't want to be making fun of a guy. He's dead. So um but yeah, he went to that Trump rally on remember that June man, it was the most messed up thing too, right? It was on Juneteenth. And it because Juneteenth's like the day that slaves were emancipated um back in what 1865, right? So it was like June 19th. So they did Juneteenth, and Trump had a rally on Juneteenth. I don't know if it was the day, but it was that weekend in Tulsa, Oklahoma, where the massacre was, where that like
I
Black
remember
Wall
that.
Street massacre, right? And that's where Herman Cain went. He contracted coronavirus and he died like the next week.
Wow, that's sad.
Yeah, that's like that. It's just not serious. They didn't. And this guy's the head of the country, and he's not taking this thing seriously.
It's tough. The whole administration probably could have taken it more seriously, warned everyone a bit more, and it a
Yeah.
lot of
I
people
mean,
are
and then
upset
the
with it.
results came in. A lot of his staff got infected, including him, supposedly.
Yeah, no, he
I
did,
kind of
didn't
yeah, and then there goes the idea of medical coverage too, right? How come people don't have access to the same medication and Medicare help that they got when they got this coronavirus and they were like, "Oh, I'm fine. I'm perfect."
That is a difficult question.
Yeah, right? And the fact is again, they're the ones that talk bad about Obamacare, which itself is a dog whistle, by the way. Remember when I said dog Obamacare? When people hear Obamacare, they're like, repeal it, but it's really called the Affordable Care Act, which is helping them get medical care.
So Obamacare is the Affordable Care
Affordable
Act.
Care Act.
That's
Yeah.
really what it is.
Yeah. And
Eh,
they say, and then when you link Obama to a person that doesn't like Obama to the plan, then you're like, repeal it. We don't want Obamacare.
What is the Care Act?
So the Affordable Care Act is what basically was what kept us on our parents' insurance till we were 26, right? Because
What was
after
it
that we were
before?
on our. It used to be like 18 when we were on our own. We couldn't be on our parents' medical plans.
I had no idea about that.
Um, that and also before that, insurances had the right to reject you if you had pre-existing conditions.
Like
So
what
if you're
of exist
so like
conditions?
asthma or things like that, they could reject you. Now insurances can't reject you for pre-existing conditions, such as like if you're a preemie, if you're or that in that kind of matter. Um, so I mean, they want to extend that. Um, I have to look in this again, but of course, it's gonna sound like it's a political pitch because that's what like Biden and Kamala Harris have been saying that if you technically contracted corona virus, you technically have a pre-existing condition now.
Really? Is that the new standard?
Well, I mean, like I guess I'm not really sure because they're saying you can become symptom. Well, I mean, just like any other virus, like you once you get that virus, it's in you within you. It's just dormant and it could flare up again, right? Like measles or um, chickenpox or something like that, right? I'm not really. I think that's kind of how virus works, but I'm not like a professional, so I don't know.
I don't know either. I thought it was one time you get it and then you can beat it and then you'd have to like contract it again, or you might even be immune.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean you could be, but there's other. But I heard you can get sick more. You can get like symptomatic more than
Twice.
once.
Wow. Well, thankfully, neither of us have been symptomatic once.
Oh, I know, right? But it's like you think about it all the time. I like you wake up with the sniffles or you have little like irritation in your throat, you know?
Yes. I did a
Uh,
lot at the very beginning in March. I had a I think I had a small little panic attack where I thought I was dying of coronavirus, but I've been pretty good since then. Sometimes if I get the sniffles, I'm like, oh dang, we're in the middle of a pandemic. This isn't
yeah,
good. But
yeah. Like one of the things that like towards that, I was watching this video. It was very interesting. It's talking about the placebo, nocebo effect or something like that.
what's
Basically saying
nocebo?
that stress, like the nocebo effect, is mainly that stress and anxiety weakens our immune system, right?
Yes.
And if we actually, and it's like the idea of being in survival mode and being really stressed out. Um, it's very good video and it's on After School. I don't know if you ever heard of After School on YouTube.
No, I've never heard of it.
They do like basically like they do like animations behind like speeches or interviews from like certain people. Like there's some like Jordan Peterson. I saw one on like from Rogan Experience or other things, and they animate what they're saying in that like interview or speech. So it's kind of cool.
Animate? In
They
what
animate
sense?
it. Like they'll do marker drawings like of what explaining what they're saying in the background.
As they're explaining it?
Yeah, but it's like the report. It's like a recorded interview or speech.
Okay. So
Yeah,
someone else will animate it as a speech is
yeah, as
going
they're
on.
speaking. Yeah,
Wow. And
yeah, and it's
that's
like tons of
good.
topics, like stuff like you have some on like shrooms, you have some on like organizations, you have free thought, like freedom of thought and that kind of stuff. So
That is sounds like a trip.
yeah,
Where do you get that?
I watched it on YouTube. They
You
usually have
too?
a video every week or so.
Wow, you'll have to send me that. I want to see that. Some of those at least.
Yeah, yeah. I try to. I mean, I have a grip of things I try to watch every week. Like I guess.
Like what are those things?
Um, I've been watching this podcast called Roommates.
What's
Um,
what's roommates about?
kind of a lot of it's kind of just it's all leveling. The thing is leveling up, right? Always bettering yourself. Being the best possible you can. And I think that's I kind of gravitated towards that because I feel like during this time, like there's a lot of like grim stuff, and it's hard to really be positive. It's hard to
Yes.
really also think that you're gonna like this like once this ends, like where are you gonna be when it ends, right? Like how
Yes.
are you gonna still grow during this time, right?
And it helps you answer that question.
Look at a few things. I mean, like it's got me reevaluating things about like my job, right? My career, where that's going, where I want to go. Like, should I look into grad school? I know I feel like I've been saying I wanted to go to grad school for a while, but it's like, I don't know. I feel like I don't want to go to grad school and have the same mentality. Just like I don't want to like move to another place and still have the same negative mentality or still feel because this job is like what I'm doing now during this time. I'm really
You're burnt.
burnt out. Man.
What's burning you out?
Burning out is
No, what's burning you out?
what's burning me out?
Yes.
Well, I mean, just dealing with when you deal with a lot of people, all the time, man. Like dealing with it's almost like you barely have time for your like for self-investment. That's burning me out, right? Like we're like no self-care. I have a stale routine. And then I go to work and I think about work when I'm going to sleep and I don't sleep well. And I wake up and I have to go to work and then it's Friday again. Finally it's Friday. And then 2 days come and then you're back to that again, right? And within that time there's no real self-investment, right? So
Self investment is very important.
yeah,
Investment and self reflection too.
yeah. So I mean I'm starting a few things. Like I'm actually ironically I'm starting therapy this week. But
You're
that's
starting therapy.
yeah.
What type of therapy?
I'm not really sure. I actually have to look at like I know I probably should have done this a while ago, but I didn't look at her profile yet.
The
But
profile of the therapist?
yeah, because it was I originally got referred to a guy from my coworker. It was very interesting. So I was talking to him on the phone. He didn't have any bookings opening, so he referred me to someone that works in his practice, right? But I was talking to him, and he was like, "Oh wow, I recognize your area code 949," and he ends up going like he grew up in Irvine.
Wow.
Yeah, and he's here in Albuquerque. He's like, "I recognize your area code," and then like was really ironic. I started just opening up. It's like, yeah, I went to Lucianago High School. He's like, yeah, I went here.
Wow.
Blah, blah. And he's like, I remember that. He's like, I was a student body president at Saddleback College the year I was born.
He was.
Yeah, in 1992, he was the student body president at Saddleback College,
That's pretty crazy.
and now he owns his own practice. Like
His own ther- therapy practice.
yeah,
Nice.
yeah. So
And he's your coworker, or this is the person
no,
you're
this is
going to
he was
see?
referred to me. He was referred to me by a coworker. His practice, but I'm getting therapy from someone who works at his practice, not him. But
How do you, what made you decide to go into therapy or try
well, I mean,
therapy?
I did it before. Like I've done therapy twice. Like I did it in school. Um, like before I transferred to UCLA, and then after I got there, because and then I did it like a stint after like back in 2018, and then I stopped.
How were they?
School is very interesting because I mean, like when I was at junior college, one thing I was like, what scared me to death was signing my loan papers, man. I did not, I was afraid of signing my loan papers, dude. Because you hear about, like, I didn't want to be in debt. Like, you hear about how being in debt is like the worst thing ever, and blah, blah, blah. And I was afraid to sign it. Then I went to a therapist and she's like, she talks to me. She's like, that's like, you're going to UCLA, one of the number one, number two public, university in the country, and you're afraid to sign a loan for 20 something $1,000. Like that experience is priceless.
How did you feel about the experience? Did you think it was priceless?
um, I feel like it was a little overrated to be honest. A little hyped up, like
I
more
agree.
than it. But
I feel like my college experience was also a little hyped up as well. What did you think was hyped up about your college experience?
well, I think what it was what was hyped up like about it? Eh, I guess like you thought it would be like what would I say? Like it was like just that it was UCLA. Oh, you're going to UC like it's something very special. But then again, it's like I feel like it was a lot of that Hollywood. Um, the culture of LA was very of that 90210 like affected the campus, like that kind of mindset.
And weren't
And
you weren't into it?
not really, but then again, I wasn't. Again, I think when I going back to like when I said earlier about being politicized, like I didn't know that being black, like that's when I was first exposed to it. When I went to UCLA, like I found myself in the middle of like the racial um things going on campus and those things where it's literally you have to you have to gravitate or something. You can't, especially as a black person, you kind of can't really be neutral. So
What do you mean by you can't be neutral?
I don't know. I felt like, it was if, I felt like it was like a duty to kind of be like active politically, like on the behalf of like black students, like go to black student body meetings and black African student union meetings, um, go to protests on campus, those kind of things, right?
What made you feel that way, that it was your duty?
I don't know. I think um well, I mean, I guess a better way of saying it would be something I heard recently, which was like last year, was as like, you know, it, there's certain black people that don't have the privilege of being in my position, right? They don't have the privilege of going to a top college in the country. They don't have the privilege of getting the education. They don't have the privilege of being in certain spaces where they can't get in. So when you're in that area, you have to you're representing your race, right? Like you're a representative of them, or because you're getting that seat at the table kind of a thing, right? That a lot of people are left out of, like are not even let in, like they're not even let in the door. So I don't know, like you can be that. I can go both ways. I can be that Sambo, like right? Like, because there's a term, the Sambo and the Uncle Tom, right? Uncle Tom is usually the term that they give, like, sellouts, right? But I have to read the book, like, but don't quote me on this. But the Sambo is actually the sellout, right? Uncle Tom is the person that fits in, but he's still like caring and kind of cares um for his community. Like Sambos are the sellouts that go in and sell out your culture to to profit or to raise themselves up, those kind of things. So in their own careers. So
Where did you gain this mentality? Was it from your studies in school?
yeah, that too. I read a few books. Like one of the biggest good book is the Miseducation of the Negro, right? And this was written like early 1900s, and it's by a former, I don't think it was a president or something. I think it was the president of Howard University at one point.
Wow. Howard University is a historically black college, correct?
Yeah, yeah, but it's named after a white man.
Is it? Who is
Yeah,
Howard?
yeah. I don't know his first name, but yeah, it's named after a white man.
I didn't know that. It's
Pretty
like
like that's what I learned from Dick Gregory. I like Dick
from what?
Gregory. A comedian named Dick Gregory.
Dick Gregory.
Yeah.
This
Um, very. He's dead now, but he kind of he started like around like the civil rights era and stuff, and he
what
was
type
very
of continue?
oh, like he was. It was kind of more like he was very ironic about like he has a lot of irony about just American culture. He's always talking about it's a game, kind of a game mentality, right? Which I kind of think so too, right? You ever think about like game theory before? I heard
Yes.
of game theory,
What do
right?
you mean by game mentality?
Well, I mean, like, there's a lot of things that, especially dealing with race, like, like people say, like, oh, as a black person, you should be equal to a white person, right? So you have that mentality of just, I want to be equal, right? But if something's that ingrained in our history and it's crystallized in our minds, in our spirit, right, in our sense of being, then you're never going to attain that equality with that person. But then you're constantly fighting for being equal to that person.
I'm not sure I
If
understand.
Oh, okay. So it's what would I say? So it's like okay. What's a better way of saying it? So game, it's a game, right? So um you have a lot of things that are set up in this country, right? That obviously it's set up for and the outside it's like, oh, we don't really discriminate, we don't do any of that stuff, but it's set up for certain people to win, right? Like yeah, blue collar, white collar crimes, right? Yet you have the idea that street crimes, robbery, drug use, all that stuff is highlighted as very, oh my God, that's awful, man. They murdered him. They did all that. But what about the politician that took all this corrupt out of corruption, took all this back pay that could have been added to programs for the community, but then they back pocketed, right? Right? That's not looked at the same, right? That's the game, right? White collar crime of embezzlement, of corruption, of like not like the what do they say that oil rig, right? That oil rig. And
What oil rig?
it's like what was it like 2000 when Obama was in office, that oil rig in the remember it blew up,
In the Gulf of Mexico?
yeah, in the Gulf of Mexico, right? Like they literally didn't inspect like do the thorough inspections of that rig and it blew up. Yet that would be a white collar crime, right? It's not seen as that bad. Like people will see that like, oh my God, blah blah. But then they see murder every day. What do you think is worse? Like this, like this thing blowing up in the freaking ocean due to companies shortballing their inspections, right, is a catastrophe
Yes.
that ruined the economy, all that stuff.
Environment.
But you rather look at kind of the reaction to the true crimes, which is like would be like the wealth like discrepancies, right?
The
Right,
what?
that are well, like the true crime would be the crime of not allowing people to have access to certain things that cause them to do the blue collar crimes out there, right? But you're going to look at the blue collar crimes and say that's the problem.
The reactionary.
Yeah.
Okay.
And that's the game, right? The game is we look at the protesters as the enemy. We look at right what they're protesting against is the enemy, but we're going to look at the people that are protesting. They're what's wrong, right? So
It's very tough. It's not
it's
easy.
nothing's black and white.
No,
Nothing.
it's not black and white.
Yeah.
All of these issues are very complex. People are born in different
Yeah.
environmental and
Yeah.
familial situations, and it really changes their ability to do well in life.
True. Yeah. Because I mean, I don't know. I guess like for me, I'm glad that I had I'm glad I got it. Like I was not happy about like going to New Mexico and stuff like that, or you know, but I'm glad it got me out of my comfort zone, like per se, and UCLA too got me out of my comfort zone and stuff that I was, comfortable with, um, not being exposed to things, right? That's the privilege you have of not being in a bubble such as Orange County, which I'm glad I didn't have to think about that stuff later. I mean, now it kind of comes in as like secondary trauma in a way, but at least I'm getting exposed to something different.
It's huge. It's huge to get exposed to something different and to not be
Yeah,
comfortable all the time.
yeah,
Thinking can get pretty stale, and people can get stuck in their habits and not expand like you are trying to do as well with, you know, just bettering yourself through this pandemic.
yeah,
Well, Josh, this was a great conversation, very enlightening for me.
yeah. Thank you, man.
Thank you. Is there anything that you'd like to say?
Yeah, sure, dude. Well, I'm curious. What have you been up to, man? Like,
Me,
are you working now? Are you quarantining or working from home or
working from home, quarantining.
yeah?
Um,
Well, how is that?
it's all right. I mean, I need I don't go into the office and I don't see people too much through my work. So I have to find new ways of making connections with people in my community, which is one of the reasons I
Yeah,
like doing this because, you know, we're able to talk about some pretty serious issues that a lot of people care about deeply.
yeah,
And it's good to talk with people and keep in contact. And through quarantine, I feel like that's a little tougher because we're literally not able to see each other sometimes, and people don't feel
yeah,
comfortable seeing each other. But
yeah.
that's how I'm doing, just trying to keep connected and sane.
Yeah, that's cool, dude. And then we started talking about shooting, right? So you shot for the first time?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, and it was a lot of fun. And hunted birds for the first time. They were planted, they weren't wild. So
Okay.
that was new. I didn't realize that was going to be a thing. I thought they'd be wild, but
Yeah,
it was a lot of fun. And,
cool. Were you with rifles or
it was
was
with
it rifles?
20 gauge shotguns.
Oh shit. Hey.
Yeah. Yeah.
Cool.
It was, I liked it. I liked it. And I'll
Yeah.
probably do it again. It's a little expensive,
Nice.
but
I mentioned to you, I want to go shooting again. I went one time. I really enjoyed it too.
you enjoyed it. What, what did you
Yeah, I
enjoy
really
about
liked
it?
it. Um, I think I like the relief of the tension the
It's
most.
It's pretty relieving. It's like, holy
Yeah.
moly, what was that?
Yeah.
That
Yeah, I'm
was
like, I just like it's like remember I think I texted to you. It's like literally the like you feel the tension leaving your body as you like shoot.
yes. You feel it just boom going out through that bullet
Yeah.
or gauge. It's
Mm.
it's very American.
Yeah, it is. It is. It is. And then that's why I don't want to get too political, but that's why the Second Amendment is there. I mean, it has its reasons. There's it's not all what it's said to be. There's reasons why there was that.
There are
Uh,
reasons, and it's not black and white,
Yeah.
like pretty much everything we've spoken about today. It's like there there's a butterfly effect with almost everything we do,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
untold consequences, unimaginable
Yeah.
consequences.
Hmm.
Well, Josh, thank you. Uh,
Yeah.
this was a great conversation, and we'll have to do it again sometime.
Yeah, definitely, man.
All right. Well,
All right, dude.
have a good one.
You too, man. I'll talk to
Later.
you soon.
Later.
Bye.
Talk to you soon.
Okay.